Okay, so I'm going to put together my dry mix for my pie dough. I've got my flour here, my sugar, salt, my mixing bowl, got some dry measuring cups and some measuring spoons, and I'm going to start to put everything together. So first I'm going to dump in my flour into my bowl, and that will be 2.5 cups of flour. Just going to make sure I have the right amount. I got a butter knife here. Just going to level it off so I have just enough. So that's 1. Get into the bottom of my flour. Okay. 2. And here's my 1/2 scoop right here, a little smaller. Level this off. Okay. Now I'm going to add in my 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And my 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. Okay. And I'm just going to take a fork and mix it in, just so it's like nicely mixed together. Okay, that's good. We're going to be mixing some more because we're going to have to add our cold butter, which I'm going to get from the refrigerator right now. So I cubed this up ahead of time, put it in the fridge for probably a couple hours. You could do this the night before or earlier on in the day. And so I'm gonna just dump, this is my cube butter in here that I've pre-measured. Okay. And first I'm gonna take my fork and kind of mix it in. Good as it's going to get with that fork. So I'm going to take my clean hands. I'm going to mush butter in with the flour. Just kind of like, you don't want to melt it too much, but you need it to be, you know, pretty well incorporated. Just, you know, as you can see, I'm just kind of pushing the butter and flour together. Just gonna keep doing it until everything resembles like coarse, like lumpy flour almost. I feel like it's best to do this with your hands, because then you can really okay. When I'm done, I'll show you what it looks like. Get some of that flour that's sticking to my hands a little bit. Okay, so now I'll show you what it looks like. Kind of see like a little bit of a glare off of the camera. There you go. Kind of looks coarse. All right, so now I'm gonna add in my 4.5 tablespoons of very cold water. I actually have some, I just put a little water in a bowl with an ice cube and let it sit and melt. And we're gonna do, this is my tablespoon. We're gonna do 1 tablespoon at a time. Mix it up. So 1, my fork again, kind of mix it up. 2, some off, had some clumped on the fork. Mix this up again. It's 3 tablespoons I did. Use my hands a little bit to kind of get it to come together a little bit. I can already feel it clumping together, as you can see that. Okay, 4. See, it's like starting to want to come together, which is what you want. Oh yeah, this is good. And then a half more tablespoon of ice cold water. Okay. Gonna move things off out of the way so I have some room to work. Okay. Let's see. Kind of using my back of my hands to press down, knead it together. I'm going to dump it on the table here in a second and then start to knead it some more. And take a look here, see how it's kind of coming together really nicely. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the surface without the flour for right now because it's still pretty crumbly. And if I need flour, I'll add it. You can see, yeah, I can sort of see here as best as I can show you. There we go. So I'm just gonna use my hands to kind of clump it together like this. Starting to come together. I'm gonna take a few minutes to get it to fully come together. See, it's starting to stick to the table because it's butter. I can just kind of scrape it with my hand and put it back together. Okay. Okay. Put a little bit of flour on the table now. It's getting a little too sticky. Around it, not too much. And just keep kneading it. Yeah, now it's really starting to come together and I can feel it. You see, it's still kind of flaky, but you're gonna get that because you don't have that much moisture to it, which is what you want. Should end up being a nice flaky crust. So now I'm just circling it and forming it into a ball. I'm gonna pick up some leftover dough that'd fallen off. Okay. And it's gonna be like crumbly. I'm gonna flatten it out a little bit. Flattening it out so that when I take it out from the refrigerator and it's been chilled, it'll be a little bit easier for me to roll out with my rolling pin. Excuse me. Flip it over. Kind of like to be a little meticulous with this, getting it round. Okay. So now I've flattened it and rounded it out. The next thing I'm going to do is just take some plastic wrap and I'm going to wrap it up really nicely, keeping it nice and flat, and I'm going to let it chill for either an hour or overnight depending on what you have time for.